In this video, we will discuss how to tie a flat square knot using a two-handed technique when the right hand serves as the active tying hand and starts in a position that is above the passive strand, or in other words, is farther away from us than the passive strand. For a two-handed tie, the active tying hand is the hand that performs the maneuvers to create the throw, and the passive hand primarily holds, passes, and receives the other strand. During the performance of a two-handed tie, the strand held by the active hand can be maintained with the same grasp throughout the performance of tying. First, we hold the white strand loosely between our thumb and index finger, as shown here. Then, we gently slide our hand backwards along the strand until near the end of it, keeping the strand between our thumb and index finger. We then grasp the white strand between our ring and pinky fingers and gently adduct them to pin the white strand between them. Next, we use our middle finger to hook the white strand. We then gently adduct our middle, ring, and pinky fingers and gently flex them, which both allows for a stable grasp on the suture strand and also keeps our thumb and index finger free for the performance of the active tying maneuvers. Next, we make a semicircle with our active hand, as shown here. Note how the white strand held by our active hand emerges from the wooden board in a position that is farther from us than where the black strand exits from the board, or in other words, above the black strand. This means that we will perform an overhand throw. For an overhand throw, we position the index finger of our active hand between the white and black strands, with the white strand wrapped around the dorsal aspect of the index finger. Then we wrap the black strand around the palmar aspect of the index finger such that the free ends of the white and black strands cross the top of the index finger in opposite directions. We then pinch the thumb and index finger of our active hand together. We then rotate our pinched thumb and index finger through the loop created by the white and black strands by simultaneously extending our wrist and pronating our hand. Once our pinched thumb and index finger are on the other side of the loop, we spread them apart so that they can receive the black strand. The passive hand drapes the black strand over the pad of the thumb of the active hand. The black strand is then pinched by the thumb and index finger of the active hand. The black strand is then passed back to the starting position of the pinched thumb and index finger by simultaneously flexing the wrist and supinating the hand. The passive hand then receives the black strand from the active hand. The active hand then releases the black strand and grasps its own white strand. We now must tighten this first throw. To do this, we will follow two principles, a vertical and a horizontal principle. First, the vertical principle. Since the white strand held by the active hand exited the board from a position farther from us than the black strand held by the passive hand, we will move our active hand to a position that is closer to us. Similarly, since the black strand held by the passive hand exited the board in a position closer to us than the white strand, we will move our passive hand to a position that is farther from us. Next, the horizontal principle. Imagine a line connecting the white and black strands where they exit the wooden board. During tightening, we will keep our right hand slightly to the right of this line and our left hand slightly to the left of this line. Once we have performed this tightening maneuver, we can see that the first throw has been laid down flat, with each strand symmetrically wrapping around the other. Once this first throw is laid down flat, we want to avoid placing tension on either of the suture strands during the performance of the subsequent throw. This is because if tension is applied to either end, it will disrupt the flat structure of the initial throw, which will result in a non-apposing knot, or colloquially, an air knot, if this error is left uncorrected. For our second throw, since the white strand held by our active hand is now closer to us, we will perform an underhand throw. When performing an underhand throw, we will place the thumb of our active tying hand between the white and black strands. We then push the white strand held by the active hand towards us using the dorsal aspect of our thumb, as shown here. Notice that when we place our thumb between the two strands, we do not apply tension to the white strand, which remains lax so that it does not disrupt our initial flat throw. We then use our passive hand to wrap the black strand around the palmar aspect of the thumb, as shown here. In this way, one of the strands is wrapped around the thumb in a clockwise fashion, and the other in a counterclockwise fashion, and the free ends of each strand point in opposite directions from where they cross over the thumb. We then pinch the thumb and index finger of our active tying hand together. We next rotate our pinched thumb and index finger through the loop that has been created by the black and white strands by simultaneously flexing our wrist and supinating our hand. Once our pinched index finger and thumb are on the other side of the loop formed by the white and black strands, we spread them apart so that they can receive the black strand. The passive hand then drapes the black strand on the pad of the index finger of the active hand. The black strand is then pinched by the thumb and index fingers of the active hand. The black strand is then passed back to the starting position of the pinched thumb and index finger by simultaneously extending the wrist and pronating the hand. The passive hand then receives the black strand from the active hand. The active hand then releases the black strand and grasps its own white strand. We now tighten this second throw using the same vertical and horizontal principles. Since the starting position of the white strand was close to us, we will move it away from us during tightening, and since the black strand started away from us, we will move it close to us during tightening. And the right hand will remain on the right side of the line connecting where the black and white strands had exited the wooden board, and the left hand will remain to the left of it. Unique to the second throw, however, is that we want to tighten it in such a way that there remains laxity in the two strands until the very end of tightening. This is accomplished by ensuring that the rate at which the strands are pulled apart by the hands is not faster than the rate at which the hands are brought down in parallel to the surface of the wooden board. By tightening this way, the first throw will not be disrupted, which would otherwise result in a non-apposing knot. Once the second throw is tightened, the base of the knot will be more secure. While the strands should ideally still remain lax during the performance of subsequent throws, this is less critical as the initial square knot should provide reasonable stability. For demonstration purposes, we will perform 2 more throws for this knot without pausing. For the overhand throw, the strands are crossed over the index finger, the thumb and index finger are pinched and rotated to the other side of the loop where the black strand is passed to them, then they are rotated back through the loop and the throw is tightened with the active hand now moving towards us since it started away from us. Then the strands are crossed over the thumb and index fingers are pinched and rotated to the other side of the loop to receive the passive strand, then they are rotated back through the loop and the throw is tightened with the active hand moving away from us since it started towards us.